dismissive, Daddy.
Leading to, we'll get to the Poe Cup, but before that is the question that you were asking about Thing and Enid, like how they have this bond that we never actually see. We just hear her telling Wednesday when Wednesday asking for help, and she's like, "Well, why don't you ask Thing?" Oh, you probably can't because he's mad at you. Wednesday's like, "What are you talking about?" You know, it's like you don't respect him as a person. She's like, "Well, technically, he's only a hand." You know, again, Wednesday. You know, feels like you don't appreciate him, and so we're sitting here like, "Wait, what? Like, how are they communicating?"
Yeah, like I think I was mentioning before, like, does he know sign language? Because how would a hand be able to talk?
Yeah, but that would also assume that Enid knows sign language. Like,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, yeah, it's I honestly I don't, and I think that's a big reason why they don't show that. You know, we do get to see Wednesday conversate with Thing, but I think that's easier to accept because they're family. You know,
Right.
she's
Yeah.
been around him her whole life, so that's more something like you know, anyone you're around your whole life, even if the person can't speak, like you're going to learn how to communicate with that person. So that makes sense. We don't need explanation. But with Enid, I think it would be hard to show that without it being like, this doesn't make sense. So I think it was a wise choice for them to not show this great time that she had with Thing, you know, but just have her tell Wednesday what happened, and so then we just accept it, you know.
Yeah, I just want to add though, I think that they do show Enid and Thing's relationship as it progresses, as it evolves, because Thing's on her bed flipping through a magazine, so it's clear that they've been chatting. You know.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, yes, I actually have that in my notes. I think that was a great choice from the director. That whole scene, I think, was actually like perfect because Wednesday comes in, storming in the room because obviously she doesn't want to apologize. The only reason she's doing it is because if she does that, then Enid will help her so she can continue on her mystery hunt, you know. So she regrettably goes into this room to give like this halfway apology to Thing and just like, all right, chop chop, get to work. We got stuff to do. And Thing is just sitting there, sitting. He's just there flipping through Enid magazine, sitting on her side. Even when Wednesday walks into the room, she looks to the right first because Thing usually would be on her side of it, on the desk or something like that. So she looks to the right when she walks in, and she doesn't see him. She turns left and sees him sitting on Enid's bed, flipping through the magazine. You know, basically saying he's immersed into Enid's world. So that's how you know, visually see that, okay, they've made a bond. He's on her side, he's reading her magazine, you know, and then, you know, once they try to talk to him and he doesn't accept her apology, he throws the magazine on the ground. He's like, sit down, we need to talk.
And then your next question?
The sheriff and his son obviously have a disconnect. When he asks his son what he and the shrink talk about, Tyler says, we talk about mom, remember her. My question is, do you feel as the sheriff avoids talking about his mother, Tyler's mother, to protect him or to protect himself?
To protect, well, both. I think it's, you know, he's doing this like to shut his son down from asking questions about his mom and revealing, you know, the secret. And it's also so that he doesn't have to talk about it and reveal information to Tyler that's going to jeopardize his job and his standing in the community.
So would you say that's the root of their issue then? Because they just
I don't think that's the root. I think that's not the root of it. I think the sheriff is terrified of the truth. He's in denial. He doesn't want to know anything about, like, he doesn't want the genetics to be passed down to his son, and he's terrified of finding out that it has or hasn't. So he's just trying to like keep everything contained and not expose anything, not find out any secrets. So he doesn't want to talk about his wife or his ex-wife to Tyler because secrets could get revealed. So I think that's more likely why he's like against it. I don't their root the reason why they're disconnected is because just because Tyler just learned something about himself, and the sheriff has known for a while, and so neither one of them are able to talk about it to each other, and so there's a rift.
You could tell there's a lot of secrets between the two of them, and I think that is the major reason why there is a disconnect. They don't really talk to each other. All the conversation is pretty like cut and dry. When he tries to, even the way that Tyler jokes, sarcastically, he's like, "Oh, we're not going to get the barbecue going and watch the big game. Oh, I think we're going to have some quality time." It shows you that like they probably more so the father, but they avoid each other. Father keeps himself busy with work. He's not home much. It doesn't seem like, and when he is home, they probably aren't talking. So I think that is the big issue. Is like you said, it's the father being scared that if they say too much to each other, then he's going to hear what he doesn't want to hear.
So, like you, there were a lot of funny lines in the episode that were stuck in my head. I'm just gonna get a reaction from you for a couple of them. I've hibernated with grizzlies. I know the difference.
Yeah.
What do you remember what that scene was from? Where that line was from?
That was when that was in the opening scene when the sheriff was interviewing her, and he asked her, he's like, "Are you sure it wasn't like a grizzly or something?" And that's when she says that.
Yeah. And then hell is for other people. That's with, and she was talking to Enid, like when Enid was giving her tour, and Enid was like, I was just trying to say you should fit in more, and be like other people, kind of. And she's like, yeah. So. And then I constantly stalk my parents. What do you remember?
Oh, that was when she was in the woods with Tyler, or she wasn't with him per se. She was trying to find evidence, and he snuck behind her and covered her mouth and pulled her in behind the tree because his dad was walking with Elvis, the dog.
Oh yeah. And he was like saying something like,
"You must think it's weird I'm stalking him."
And then that responds. So I like those moments when they can just have a different vibe than just, I'm serious, I'm going to get down to business. So.
Yeah.
So why do you think the writer and the director gave Wednesday so many skills in the second episode? What do you think that meant?
I think they were really just trying to open up the character, widen the spectrum. The first episode, the only skill that we really are given is one that she can terrorize people, if we can call that a skill, and two is that, she has these visions. Obviously we know that she's smart, but that's kind of given when we find out she's like straight A student and all that stuff when she got into school because her grades are so good. So, but that's just kind of just words. But we actually physically get to see her be great at things, and I think that was them just kind of letting us know a little more about the character, letting us know that she's not just this emotionless, one-minded, one-track mind character. Like, she's multi-layered. She gives us this, what we feel is like, okay, this is who she is. She's snarky. I'm trying not to use the word emotionless because, like we said, she does have emotion.
She's more like a robot.
Almost robotish. Yeah, exactly. Almost like a robot. So I think they're breathing life into the character. Which is the same reason why I think that Don't Worry, Be Happy was a great choice, because at that moment, we actually got to have fun with this character. We never really got to have fun with her up to this point. Unless we're with the whole psychotic level she was on when she dropped the water, and like, yeah, I guess that was fun. But we actually got to have like some lighthearted fun with her during that whole scene when she was finding a club. So I think that's what that was, what they were doing. And I think it worked really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just showing us even more how that she's even cooler than we originally thought in the first episode. Like she can do pretty much anything without putting in any effort. So she could just pretty much like take over the school and have everything in order, and nobody's really at risk for, there's not, the stakes are high, but they're not insurmountable. She can actually, find out who the monster is, kill it, maybe. She can take care of all the business in the town, the Craxton stuff, and she's going to be a one person show where she can just fix everything. And I think that's, giving her more skills shows and how easy it is for her to achieve them, gives us that impression, and we're really like on board with her going after things. So I think it also helps us, if we have stress going into this, like how is this young girl gonna figure everything out and fix it? Now we don't have that feeling anymore. So I think that was a good way to show that. And so now the snapping of the fingers is in the theme song for the Addams Family, the TV show. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think it was fan service for her to do it when she opens up the Edgar Allan Poe statue? For
Definitely. I mean, it's so much a part of the Addams Family legacy in general. It's in the song. So like, I think they didn't want it to be. I think they didn't want it to be cheesy. They didn't want to just like throw it in randomly or have the mom do it or the dad do it. Like it had to come from Wednesday because that's who we're following. But it had to make sense. She couldn't just do it for no reason. And it also wasn't something that she had already been doing. This was for a purpose to move forward in her investigation. And plus there was a whole clue she had to figure out. She had to answer all these riddles, write it down, all the different words, and then circle all the first letters and see that it says snap twice. So it was all intertwined in what she needed to move forward. So I thought it was a good choice, and just gave you that feeling like, okay, I'm watching Wednesday from Addams Family. Like this is yes, and you didn't have to wait too long, but they also didn't. I'm glad they didn't do it in the first episode, because then it would just be like, then it probably would have felt like it was thrown in. So it's like you get to your second episode and you're like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they went for the nostalgia, like for people that have seen the show, but they did it in a unique way where like there's a purpose for it. It's so that she can get into the nightshades, the downstairs area and find the
library.
Yeah. So it was necessary for her to snap twice. And so, and it's not just her that does that. It's going to be multiple people that go through that. So it's not just applicable to her and her family. So I think that was a good for like to not be like predictable, because you would think if it's just for Wednesday and her family, she wouldn't need to use it in the school. So, and I also think it just brings it back memories for everybody. Like, wow, I totally remember that in this theme song. I want to pay attention because I feel good when I see that, because it brings back so many memories watching the show that I love. So I think it was a good choice that they did that the way that they did it. So I agree with you on that. And then the last question is, oh wait, not the last question. In the Poe race, what do you think is going too far? Let the Poe Cup begin. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of rules about how to like win the race. You just have to get to the finish line. And so some of the students do a whole lot of like sabotage. So what are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I thought everything was fine, and it was fun. The only thing that was out of place to me was, I think it was the Jokers. I think that's what their group was called. I thought that was out of place. It didn't fit to me. It felt like they were just trying to bring something dark into this race when honestly they're kids having fun. Everybody else's thing Bianca had the mermaid guy who's just like pushing people's boats into like to walls or whatever for they break. The other kids, who was Enid, she solves the other
Oh,
kids
yeah.
go.
The Gorgon. Yeah.
Yeah, falls there. Like everything felt fun and fair. I mean, nobody assaulted anyone. Like it, but that the Joker's bro, they had the axes that come up and just slice and it was like okay, yeah, I see they have the timing down. The black cats they duck and the blades go right over their heads. But it was just like really, like so what if they didn't duck? They're just gonna cut their heads off, and that would have been cool.
Ooh, yeah.
That's why I just felt they were doing too much because nobody else's tactics were life threatening. That was a life threatening tactic. So I just felt like it was out of place.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. It does go to a very dark place. It's very violent. And
Yeah.
even though Wednesday's been shown to be fine with piranhas in a pool, putting them in there. I agree. I think it goes a little bit like they try to cover it up by quick edits, so you don't really have time to think about how dark it is. But the makeup just reminds us of the movie The Joker and how that is just not kid appropriate. So I think it went a bit too far with that. But I also think destroying the boats, that it could be like what if they didn't know how to swim, or I was thinking of those kind of thoughts. The last
Okay.
question is, what is the correlation between Wednesday winning the Poe race and her mom's win?
The big difference obviously is that her mother was more like, I really want to do this. I mean, if you're the captain, like she probably led the entire thing. She wanted to be in this. With Wednesday, she just did it because she got to be dark. She heard Bianca talking about her when she was hiding under Xavier's bed. So well, actually, it was Rowan's bed, but in their room. And so at that point, she just wanted vengeance. She wanted revenge because Bianca was talking trash about her. And so she even Enid asked her, she's like, so you're more so doing this because I'm your friend, right? And Wednesday turns her back, doesn't even answer, and he's like, basically like, I'm gonna handle this. Let's see how does she win, every year. Like she was fully focused on getting revenge. So it had nothing to do with helping Enid. But so I think that's the big difference. But then it all comes back because Principal Weems talks to her and she's like, I don't remember like verbatim, but she's basically saying like, you reminded me of your mother. She's like, I'm nothing like my mom, different species, different breed, different everything, whatever. And she's like, well, your mom was in it too, and she won as well. That was the last time we won, was when your mom was. So it all comes back around.
Full
like,
circle.
now that you're a student, we're winning again, so I think that the motivation obviously was different, but it still did the same thing.
Yeah, so it went full circle. Like
it did.
Yeah, so I think Tim Burton, I think he did another good choice by having it be, I don't want Wednesday's thought of, I don't want to follow my mom's shadow. I don't want to be part of that. I want to carve my own niche out in my life. I don't want to be part of the school. And all of a sudden, she's getting indoctrinated into the life of the school and the social aspect of it. And then all of a sudden, she's going into this race and she's like winning it, like her team is. And so in essence, she is following the path that her mom had. It may be different reasons for it, but she ends up in the same place of winning. So I think it was a good choice of showing that, but also showing that like maybe there's two sides to why Morticia won the race, and she's only telling one thing to Wednesday. We don't really know because we weren't there and they don't show us.
Another thing that I wrote down was the classroom scene. That was also the first time we got to see Wednesday in the classroom. Was in the second episode when she's in the plant classroom. And it's so funny how they positioned everyone. I thought it was a really good conscious decision to put Xavier in the middle, Wednesday on the side, and Bianca across on the other side. So like they're going back and forth, flexing their intelligence, trying to one up each
Match
other.
each other.
And
Yeah.
Xavier was just sitting there in the center, like
Are we still talking about flowers?
That's funny to relieve
he's
the
so
tension.
uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
it's funny because like it would have to be awkward. That's his ex-girlfriend. You're sitting between your ex-girlfriend and this girl that you're like deeply in love with for whatever reason, but it's like so it was just it's a big old push and pull situation for him.
I like the conflict in it, but I also like that they showed Bianca is smart. So they're
Yes.
not like making her an idiot and trying to compete with Wednesday. I like that they brought that up and that Wednesday, like she's good at everything. So there's no way people could get annoyed with her really quickly. And I think that was good to show that to the audience. Like this is a double-edged sword. She is good at a lot of things, but it also has drawbacks because then nobody else can compete with her. So, and they might not want to have anything to do with her because of it. Like, Bianca at this point is probably like, I just like want her out of the school. So.
Yeah. Because like she's not shy about it. She's also not, I guess, fair about it. She wants to make you feel like an idiot, And so with that coming from someone who's smart, it just like you said, it makes you dislike them more. It's like you don't have to do all that.
I like how they introduce the botany teacher. I guess that's the class they're taking. Because she comes across as very eccentric, but that she loves everybody and wants the best for them. And I think that's good for that school to have somebody on the student side instead of just talking down to them. So I'm glad that they made that choice and making us an instructor that's lovable. Kind of like what they did with Harry Potter. They have that one instructor who does tea leaves. Like everybody loves her because she's so nice. And yeah, anyway, so we only have 1 minute left. Anything you want to add before we sign off?
Just to go off what you're saying, yeah, she's perfect because she's also like the bridge because she's the only normie teacher there. So having someone that's normal, being so accepting of these outcast kids, it kind of bridges the gap. Like we can have a good relationship. Yeah,
I think that's good that they did that. So I would just want to say thank you everybody for sticking around to the end. We really appreciate it.
We'd love it if you would like, leave a comment, subscribe, and share. See you soon.